We are live! Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Welcome to the Lord of Shadows live show. We are here today. We are discussing Lord of Shadows by Cassandra, Clare. I don't have my book on me currently because I'm not home, but I'm sure you all know what it is. Perfect. Yes, the gorgeous, gorgeous Lord of Shadows cover. So we're going to be discussing this book today, and I am so extremely excited. We are going to start off non-spoilery so that anyone who is here... Ooh, am I echoing? I'm echoing. 1 second. I'm echoing. There we go. Sorry, it happens sometimes. Well, here's the cover. Michael just brought me his cover. So yes, we can start with non-spoilery questions. I'm Emma. This is my channel, Emma Books. I've been hosting a read-along for the entire Shadowhunter Chronicles for all of 2018, and we just have a couple of live shows to finish it off. This was my, I think, third time reading Lord of Shadows. I don't remember if I read it only 2 times or 3 times total. I think it was 3. But I loved Lord of Shadows. I think it's a really well-written book. I love the direction that the story takes. And as I have finished Queen of Air and Darkness, but no Queen of Air and Darkness spoilers during this live show, none. I would consider Lord of Shadows my favorite in this series. So, Rue, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Okay, yeah. My name's Rue. I have a YouTube channel called Rue's Reading Corner, and that's also my Instagram. Lord of Shadows, I genuinely loved it so much more than Lady Midnight. I feel like it took everything that Lady Midnight started and just took it one step up. I don't know how else to say this without spoiling, but I just feel like Lady Midnight was just Emma and Julian's story, and Lord of Shadows just took it, like, introduced all these new characters, all these new relationships, the whole politics of the cohort, and the whole, like, I feel like while Lady Midnight was one story of the whole murder revenge thing, I feel like Lord of Shadows just had so many different plot lines that just mixed together so well, and I do think it's my favorite out of all 3.
Let's see. Oh, sorry. If someone wants to introduce themselves next,
I can go next. I'm Daria. I have a booktube called Full of Lit. And this is my first time reading Lord of Shadows, first time reading any of the Shadowhunters books. So yeah, I'm just like a little baby over here. It was a new experience.
I'm so happy to have you.
I was honestly actually really nervous going into the Dark Artifices in general, because I had so many people who had read the books before telling me it was like their least favorite series. It wasn't as good as like the Mortal Instruments or the Infernal Devices, but I was actually very pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it. Like it was said before, I liked that there was an introduction of more of the side characters and that we got more of their stories. And I think also I really enjoyed the villains of this book a lot, just because for some reason I hated them. I mean, I know exactly why. I hated them more than I've ever like disliked any of the villains in the previous series. So I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to talk about it.
Awesome. And finally, we have Victoria.
Hi everyone, I'm Victoria. I am blogging on Victoria's Pages, and I just am about to release my first book, Guardian of the Auras. It's a high fantasy novel. It's going to be released on February 21st. It's the 3rd time I'm reading Lord of Shadows. I am so excited to be here, and I actually have an unpopular opinion to share, because I did not like the Mortal Instruments series. I absolutely adore the Dark Artifices series, and Lord of Shadows is a book that I basically placed my heart in its fictional hands and just let it crush it. And I'm so happy that I did so. I would do it time and again.
Oh, that's so sweet. For a second, you got me thinking you were going to say, I hate Lord of Shadows. You're
I
the
was,
entire
I was
world.
waiting for that. Oh, I hate all shadow hunters. I don't know why.
I'm here to just disrupt your lives. Well, I'm so glad we unanimously love Lord of Shadows. And we have another host named Shannon who is trying to jump in. She's having some technical difficulties before, so hopefully she can join us soon. And wow!
Oh,
What good timing! Hi, Shannon.
Hi. I'm on my phone, so hopefully we don't have any issues.
Oh yeah, it should be fine. That's so funny. I was literally just saying that you were hopefully going to join us if you could figure it out. So I'm so happy you're here.
Okay. Me too.
So Shannon, do you want to introduce yourself, like promo your stuff or whatever, and then share your non-spoiler thoughts on Lord of Shadows?
Yeah. So my name's Shannon. I obviously I did the Clockwork Prince live show as well, so that was super fun. I'm so happy I get to do another one. And I don't have like a fancy YouTube channel or anything like that, but I'm thinking of starting one this year, so we'll see how that goes.
You definitely should.
Thank you. My Twitter is just at lipstick and coffee. But that's it. As far as my thoughts, I literally just finished Lord of Shadows probably an hour and a half ago.
Oh wow!
So everything is still fresh. But maybe this is an unpopular opinion. I don't know what you guys all said, but I only gave this like 3 stars. I didn't like it as much.
Interesting. I'm so happy we get to have your perspective then. That makes for a great live show. I'm so excited. I feel like almost every live show we've had, everyone unanimously like loves it. So I'm really interested to hear your perspective. So we are going to start taking questions from the chat. If you guys have any topics or such that you want us to all discuss together, leave them in the chat. Does anyone have anything specific they want to start off with? Any of my lovely co-hosts? I'm going to see if there's any questions currently in the thing. I saw a few people talking about Diana and Gwyn. So how did you feel about Diana? Because she has so much development in this book.
Yeah.
So I got spoiled for that.
Oh no!
Yeah. And I got spoiled for the fact that there was a trans character in the Dark Artifices, and as time was going on, I'm like, okay, why, like, Diana's all secretive, like, what's going on? It's gonna be her, isn't it? And then, I don't remember how, but I think I was just Googling something, and I shouldn't have done it, and then it got spoiled, and I was like, oh, yep, okay.
Oh no!
But that's okay, because I still, thought it was such a powerful scene when she was telling her backstory and everything. I still thought it was so powerful, so the spoil didn't really affect how I felt about the scene, so.
Yeah, I really loved it. I was not expecting it at all. Like, when I first read Diana in Lady Midnight, I thought that she was, like, kind of shady. And for a while, I was, like, afraid that she was going to be the villain, because we already had the tutor who betrayed people in what is it, the Mortal Instruments. So I thought she was shady for quite a while. But I was so pleased with her storyline. I thought it was just a really beautiful exploration of her identity, and I thought it was super, super beautiful. And I love that Gwyn loves her and doesn't care about it, and they're so perfect together.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a really interesting relationship and an interesting combination. So I'm kind of excited to see where that goes in Queen of Air and Darkness.
Yeah. How did the rest of you guys feel about it?
I feel like in the first book, I honestly didn't care about either of them at all. Like, I don't even remember what we talked about with their characters. And in this book, I love them so much. Like, even before they had a thing. Like, when Gwyn was just flirting with her, and she was just like, no, I don't want to do that. I just love them from the start. And obviously that scene was so obviously that scene was just so beautiful, and I didn't know it was coming, and it just came out of nowhere, and I was crying. Like, I never cry with books. And I was just, when she told him like, the whole mortal sword thing, it was too much for me. I loved it so much. I think it's one of my favorite scenes, like, from all the books. I really loved it.
Yeah, and it's funny because I feel like I don't normally love side romances as much as I love like the main ones. I don't know if anyone relates to that, but I feel like, especially in Cassie's books, I'm always like, oh, like Clary and Jace, Will, Tessa, Jem, and Julian, and then in Lord of Shadows, I really started to fall for some of the side romances.
Oh yeah.
How do the rest of you? I feel like only 2 or 3 of us talked about Gwen and Diana.
Well, I think that I didn't pay that much attention to their relationship in Lady Midnight and approximately throughout the first half of Lord of Shadows. But then I felt like their relationship escalated more. And it kind of feels like when she truly revealed who she really is, it just took things to a whole new level.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a question from Kaylin Page. Thoughts on the little fairy boy Ash? So just as a reminder.
Wait, how do we do that without Queen of Air and Darkness?
Well, yeah, because he's introduced. So first of all, how does Drew even get into fairy? I still don't understand. Like,
I don't know. And how did she get out?
I don't know, but I loved it. Like, however it happened, I loved it.
Yeah, like only a Rosales is supposed to be able to use the Eternidad, but Drew uses it and she ends up in fairy. And there's this fairy boy with like white blonde hair and green eyes, and his name is Ash. And it's like, I was very, very excited. I know the first time I read this, I don't know if the rest of you watch Christine on Paul and Banana's books.
Yeah,
she's been talking for years, like literally since City Family Fire, and was like, what if like the Sealy Queen and Sebastian got pregnant? And I tried to like push that off for years, and I was like, oh no, Christine's like just being Christine, she's being crazy. And then we meet Ash, and I'm like, oh no, like what if this is the boy? You know what I mean?
What if this is the weapon?
Huh?
What if this is the weapon, actually?
That was my thought too. I also thought it was like, oh, what if Ash is this weapon that Jace and Clary are looking for?
Yeah. And when that scene, like when I read that scene, I didn't know that the Wicked Powers was going to be a thing. And I really thought it was so random, but now I know it's going to be such a big part of that series because they're both like main characters there. And okay, I almost spoiled Queen of Air and Darkness. I'm so bad at this.
I mean, Cassie revealed before Queen of Air and Darkness that Drew, Ty, and Kid are going to be the main character, so I don't consider that a spoiler. That's like public knowledge. But yeah, so especially knowing that Drew is a main character and there's this boy Ash that like she meets, that immediately makes me think like, oh, this is something that like we're going to explore in the Wicked Powers, which I'm really, really excited for.
3 years. 3 years.
So, it's like we're being very blessed this year because Cassie's releasing 3 Shadowhunter books in case anyone has forgotten or like doesn't know. We have The Eldest Curses, which is the story following Magnus and Alec, which comes out in March. And then in, I think it's, is it June that Ghost of the Shadow Market comes out?
I think so.
So, yeah.
Shadow Market comes out at some point. And then sometime in fall, we have Chain of Gold, which is the first book in the Last Hour series. So part of me is like, I can't ever like ask anything more of Cassie because this is like awesome how many books she's giving us. But I'm also like, I can't wait 3 years to know what happens in the Wicked Powers.
I know. What I mean? I feel like because the Last Hours, they're all new characters. I feel like we could have waited a little longer because we don't know too much about them. But because like those characters, their stories are like half told. The fact that we waited 3 years, it just makes it so much worse.
Yeah, I know. I've seen a lot of people that are like, I don't care about Emma and Julian at all. Like, I only care about like Kit and Ty and stuff.
But like that's also me.
But like, this isn't their story. Like, their story is coming. We have so much more.
Yeah. Not to like jump around too much.
No, jump around. Let's jump.
One thing that I love Like, I was literally in the car driving to school. It might have been because I was sleep deprived, but I started crying at that scene where I think Kit's talking to Livvy and she tells him about there was that girl, the Ashdown girl, who was really mean to Ty, or like just like invited him over to the house, said, come over and talk to me about this thing. And then he did. And just like the struggle that, because in the Shadowhunter world, they don't have a name for autism or being on the spectrum. But Kit has that understanding and understands, I think, Ty because of that in a way that nobody else does. And so it just killed me and just made their bond like that much stronger. And I can't wait to see what happens with that in their own series. I love that part.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that scene until I reread Lord of Shadows just recently. And I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe that happened and that like Ty has had to deal with this. But yeah, I really loved the dynamic between Livvy, Ty, and Kit. I thought that they were just like forming this cute little bond that obviously got ruined by the end of the book.
Yeah, speaking of which, how dare you? What the heck?
While we're on the topic, how does everyone feel about Livvy?
Not okay.
Oh my God, not good.
Okay.
God. I remember I was listening to it and I only had like half an hour left of the audiobook. I'm like, nothing's happened. Can everything happen in just 30 minutes?
Oh my God, same.
Apparently.
It was the last 10 minutes. I was like, nothing's going to happen now.
Yeah.
We're fine. We're just, okay, everyone's going to go home and it's going to be great. No. No.
I know one of the things that really caught me off guard about it is not only was it at like I feel like it's very rare that like within the last like 10 pages of a book a main character dies. I feel like, you know, there's like if someone's gonna die, they die and then like we see a little bit after, but like it's right at the end. And also I feel like Cassie Clare's never killed off like a main character who wasn't a villain. I feel like leading up to Lord of Shadows, at least, like who is it? Sorry, if you haven't read like the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices, like we're allowed to talk about them. But I mean, like Sebastian, Mortney, like I feel like main characters never die, and that's why I think it was so unexpected for me with Livvy, because I just like was not, you know, if I was gonna die, I thought in that scene I would have expected it to be like Annabelle or something, but
But the thing is,
and Robert too.
Robert too. The thing is actually that we basically have one villain in the Dark Artificer series. So at some point, somebody was going to die, and that somebody would be one of the heroes of the book. So yeah, it shouldn't be that much of a surprise. But it still hurts. It still hurts. A lot.
I also think it's because this is the biggest cast we've got. Like I don't think we've ever got these many characters before, especially because the Blackthorns are such a big family themselves. I had a feeling that because like just from the start, because it was such a big family and they had like this perfect dynamic, I felt like one of them was going to die or something was going to happen. But I really thought it was going to be like Mark for some reason.
Oh no! Why? I don't know.
Or you can't split up the amazing poly relationship. That's not allowed.
I totally agree on that.
I don't know.
Speaking of potentially poly relationships, how do you guys feel about this love triangle between?
I'm all in for it. I am all in for it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. In Lord of Shadows, I wasn't really feeling it. Yeah, I really wanted Kieran and Mark to be together, and then I don't know. And then I really liked Christina and Mark. But then the whole Christina and Kieran dynamic, like really, I just didn't feel it in Lord of Shadows. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think the important thing is like if you're gonna do a poly relationship, it couldn't just be both of them love Mark and that's it. They don't like each other. Yeah, like she had to put in the time to make sure that Kieran and Christina also had a bond. Like there was that dance scene, and I think it was that scene that really made me be like, it's happening. It's like I don't accept them pairing off in any other way. This is what is happening.
I agree.
Yeah, I really like the three of them together. I think it adds like a different dimension to like the love triangle trope, because like there's so many love triangles, and like obviously like polyamory shouldn't just be like a catch-all like excuse to solve a love triangle, but I feel like there really is something deeper that's developed, because like we have the setup of Mark and Christina, we have the setup of Mark and Kieran starting in Lady Midnight, and then in Lord of Shadows, like it feels like Christina and Kieran start to have like some feelings for each other, and then like when Kieran swears loyalty to Christina and the way that he always calls her like Lady of Roses, like I think that their dynamic is really sweet, and I feel like it's almost unexpected, because I feel like like when those two when Kieran was introduced, I feel like I never would have expected him to have a relationship with Christina as well. But now I'm like, I can't, like, I don't ever want to choose between the two of them. Like, there's so many Kira Tina.
I think for me, I really knew that it was serious when he killed his brother to save her. I was like, damn, he's not playing around. He really knows how,
Let's see what other questions we have going on. There's so much Kira Tina love in the chat. Yeah. We've also gotten a lot of questions about Julian, about how he's like this morally ambiguous character at some point.
Honestly, he's not my favorite character.
Same. I don't really like him that much.
I don't really like him. That one scene, like it's stuck in my head. You know the scene with the little girl, when the writers get the little girl, and he's like ready to let that little girl, that little innocent human girl who he's supposed to protect as a shadow hunter, he's like, ready to let her die. I was just like, no, he's ruined for me. Like I can never love him again, just because every time he does something good, I just think of that scene and because it was through Emma's point of view, and she was talking about her. I still remember that she was talking about her bumblebee tights and her pink Converse and stuff like that. And I was just, no.
He's just very controlling, and that just, nope. I just can't. If you're going to be a really, like, controlling behaviors, just don't do it for me. So whenever I read him saying stuff like that, like, what was it? Oh, when Emma was telling him, don't lie to Annabelle, like, don't make promises you can't keep. And then he whispered in her ear, I'll do whatever I have to do. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the thing is that I think he makes all the wrong decisions for all the wrong reasons. And that's probably the reason why I don't really like him that much. Because I get his point of view that he's trying to protect his family and all, but you're not doing it the right way, dude. Come on. Right. Do it in another way. Try something different. And I feel like it's kind of the reason why Annabelle did what she did at the end of the book is because of how Julian manipulated her in a way to just, she was just a means to an end to him. I mean, that's how I felt.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm one of the people where I love Julian. Like I feel so hard for like what he's had to do with his family.
Oh yeah,
for
sure.
Had to grow up. And I do love him and Emma together. What can I say? I'm trash. But I do have a lot of issues with him as well, where I don't agree with a lot of his decisions. What was it? Or like when him and Emma were fighting, I think it was in Cornwall. And he's like, so you broke up with me, you broke up with Mark, who's next? Ty? And it was just like, like you're making
also,
it really hard to love you.
The whole fake relationship, like it was stretched out so much. Like I feel like Mark was just not into it. Like this, like, you know, the scene before they leave for Cornwall, where they're just hugging and they're like, they're supposed to be broken up, and he's like, yes, leave so that I can whatever, like just okay. Like how stupid is Julian? Like,
I feel like this might be unpopular.
Go for it.
I like Emma and Julian so much separately. I don't like them together. This is so weird because like I'm a sucker for angst. Like I like pain 24/7 with my ships, and so you would think the whole forbidden element, I'd be super into it. But for some reason, like, which is like when you guys were talking about the decisions that Julian was making, I thought it was so interesting. Like even when he was making all these terrible decisions, I was like, it's that question of like how far are you willing to go for your family, and like what comes first, like, and for him, like, I feel like even for Julian, like, being a shadow hunter is not as important as like being the protector of his family. And I think that's a very interesting character because we've never seen that before. And with Emma, I mean, she's just so badass and great. I love her. But for some reason, when they come together, I'm just like, I like you guys significantly less when you're with each other.
Yeah, I feel like they, you know, there are times where they bring out the best in each other, but there are times where they kind of bring out the worst.
Yeah. Especially in this book because they're trying to stay away from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of relationships, how do you guys feel about Kit and Ty? What do
Love
you
it.
think of Kit and Ty?
I'm here for it.
No,
all
you
about
guys,
it.
No.
Like, I really can't believe that there are people. Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I couldn't feel it at the beginning, and I'm kind of feeling it right now while reading Queen of Air and Darkness. But throughout the whole Lord of Shadows, I just couldn't picture it in my head. I was like, why? Okay, come on, go on, move on, move on. But I feel like there were bits and pieces here and there leading us to what's going to happen next. So yeah, I can feel it now that I reread Lord of Shadows before reading Queen of Air and Darkness.
Yeah, I mean, I like still can't believe that people like aren't like some people like think that they're still just friends, and I'm like,
Okay, look at the knife throat. It's like, oh, you're so pretty. Like,
no, but he's holding a knife to his throat, and he's like, "This is the most beautiful guy I've ever seen." I'm just like, hold on.
Yeah. I think what really solidified it for me was when he kissed Livvy, which like threw me for a loop. I was like, what?
Yeah, I know.
And then later he's like, oh, that felt so wrong. I was like, yeah, boy, you kissed the wrong twin.
Yeah.
I feel like Livvy knew because like when they had this whole scene where they were like, oh, we shouldn't kiss again. The two of us should be friends. And then Kit thinks like, why did she say the two of us, not the three of us? Because I just feel like Livvy knew, which just makes me even like more sad because
I think Livvy knew what was going on.
I don't know if you guys saw that that screenshot somebody uploaded on the team, on the group, where they say that Livvy equals Tiberian or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Like it translates with Latin or something.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god. I mean, how much research has Cassandra Clare put in her books? I was
so much.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah, she is like a mastermind. Like I just don't know. And I feel like I always say that I feel like The Dark Artist is like Cassie's most sophisticated work because there really are like so many threads that are wound through it that make connections to past things and things that are going to happen in the future, which I really love.
Yeah, and I could feel that in the writing for Lord of Shadows and Lady Midnight too. I feel like with just to circle back to Kit and Ty, I feel like it's been one of the most natural progressing relationships throughout all the series. Almost everything else has sort of felt a little insta-lovey, like Jace and Clary felt insta-lovey. Even like Will and Tessa and Jem, as much as I love all three of them and I cry every time Will is mentioned. I feel like Kit and Ty has been like a natural progression. Like they're still not even in a relationship yet, but it's definitely set the groundworks and it just feels so natural to me. And I think that's why I'm here for it. I'm all about it.
It reminds me of how when City of Heavenly Fire came out, I was thinking, it was like, oh, how amazing is this that we get to see like our main couple as kids. Like in the majority of books, like people come together and they meet for the first time in the book and then they fall in love. But we have Emma and Julian who have a history. And now we get that like times 3 because we have like technically like 2.5 books, I guess, of Kit and Ty because they don't really meet until the end of Lady Midnight. But we get so much of their relationship forming, and then years later, well, I mean, like it's not confirmed, but like it's basically confirmed that they're gonna date. While we're on the topic of them, because I just can't stop talking about them, I really love how like Ty is like so determined to have Kit in his life when he's like sleeping outside of his room and like recruiting him to be his Watson. I just think that the way that like it almost sort of feels like Ty is sort of chasing after Kit. because like Kit like doesn't want to be here. He like doesn't believe he's like really a shadow hunter. He doesn't feel like he belongs. But like Ty is really the person that helps him to realize that like this like I have a family here. Even if he like doesn't necessarily view the Black Twins as family, he recognizes that he's like a part of something. And I don't think that would have happened without Kit being there to like always push him to stay and to be involved.
Also, Kit in general, I just feel like Kit just makes the series so perfect because I feel like you know how every series has this one character who's just thrown into the whole Shadowhunter world and has to deal with it, and Lady Midnight didn't have that, but now we got Kit. But I feel like while Clary and Tessa were kind of skeptical about the way Shadowhunters did things, like Kit was just calling them out again and again, and they were just my favorite scenes. Like the whole X-Men thing, I was just laughing.
Yeah, Kit's a really great addition to the story, and I love that that he can see ghosts because like we get to see Jessamine from Kit. Oh, that was such a good introduction.
Just all the Clockwork Angel, just all the snippets that we got. I was just like when they were talking about Emma was living in Jem's room, and then you could see like Jem growing up, and I was just I wasn't ready. Like
when Emma was looking at the picture of who we know is Cordelia, I was like. I like started getting chills. I was like, I can't wait. And she was like, was she standing next to James or some dark-haired boy? They said, and I was like, is that James Herondale? But that might have been wrong.
There were a lot of last hours things included in Lord of Shadows, which I was really surprised for because like if you like watch my channel, you know that like the Infernal Devices was not like my thing in the beginning, and like the Moral of Truth always prevailed for me. So going into like the two new series with the Dark Artifices and the Last Hours, I was always like so much more hyped about the Dark Artifices. But after Lord of Shadows, I was so excited for the Last Hours because like there's one moment where there's like initials carved into like the windowsill at the Institute or something, and it's two characters from the Last Hours. There's the book from James Herondale. Like there's so many little threads laid there, and I'm so excited. And speaking of the Last Hours, like Bridget is alive.
I was just gonna say that. Like how?
I know. I was going to ask you guys, like, did I miss something? Did I miss something in the Infernal Devices? Like, I'm okay.
I think Cassie has said that it's going to be revealed in the Last Hours, like, why Bridget is alive, like, 150 years later. But I'm so intrigued. Like, what a random character to bring back. Like, I love Bridget. But I love characters.
I love her, too, except I don't appreciate the comment that she made to Drew. After Drew was trying to get the scones. Like, what the heck is that, Bridget?
Yeah, that was a bizarre moment. You know what I mean? It felt very out of place.
It did. It felt very out of character. And it was probably done so that, like, because right around that time, Drew was, like, you know, from her point of view, talking about how it felt to be sort of not the same body type or whatever. So it was probably just, you know, an extra necessary thing in the conversation, but it just seemed weird coming from Bridget.
Speaking of Drew, what do you guys think of Drew? Because Lord of Shadows is like she's not really an important character in Midnight, but she gets her own perspective in Lord of Shadows and has her own storylines.
I feel like the only thing I really remember about her from Lady Midnight is that she was the one who gave Tavi to Malcolm, which wasn't her fault. That's the only thing we know. And I really love her and what's his name?
Jaime.
Jaime. I just really love their friendship, and I just love that she was the one to find him because before him, she was just like moping around, and she makes like such like these funny comments about, oh, do you need like see, now I don't remember because I read it in November, but like she was
out of food and stuff, like she was taking care of him.
I remember there was this one line where she's like, they treat me like a servant, and then Ty's like, servants get paid. And
I love Ty.
I think the reason I love her so much is because, I mean, she is like a fat character, and like that resonates with me so much. And the fact that Cassie, I feel like sometimes like they'll say that a character is curvy. I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? Like, give me something. And like I think a lot of times authors are afraid because they don't know how to do it without seeming offensive. And I know like Cassie will answer like questions on her Tumblr just being like, she's a big girl, and like she talks about it, and I love that so much, and I like that like it doesn't make her any less desirable or any like less strong than any of the other characters, and I'm so excited to see her like get older and just grow into her body and herself.
Yeah. I really think Drew is going to be like a really notable character in the Shadowhunter Chronicles. Like I think she's going to have the impact that like Clary and Tessa and Emma have had.
I totally agree.
There's just some, like I'm not going to say anything about Queen of Air Darkness, but like it's starting in Lord of Shadows. Like she's like really a powerful character. She's so self-aware and intelligent. And also like empathetic. She relates so well to other people, and so I just like see so much going for her that I'm really, really excited for. I think she was really underrated when the series started, but I can just see her like the way that she's developed, and the insight we get from her perspective about how like she feels like everyone treats her like a servant, and she's like too young to be included in like the big Shadowhunter stuff, but then she's stuck with Tabby, who's much younger than her, and like no one really gives her the value that she values herself. So I really love her, and I'm like so excited. Like I did not expect to love Drew Blackthorn as much as I do. Speaking of like Jaime, like okay, how do you guys feel about the relationship? Because
wait, is that a thing? Are they like?
No, I don't know, because there are some people that are like, oh my god, like Cassie's writing an age gap relationship, like they're going to be together in the Wicked Powers. But I don't know like how I feel about that, because
I'm kind of worried it's going to be like a love triangle with Ash.
Yeah, I think so too, and I thought I was the only one.
Yeah, I mean, like I have shipped Ash and Drew from that moment where she starts in the thing. I'm like, oh my god, like they're gonna fall in love.
I'm also worried because his age just keeps like jumping from like he was 10, then he was 13, then he was 17, and I was just like.
Like, what is that?
I think ever since that official art release of Ash, which I didn't know that was him until someone said. I was like, yeah, that's the one I'm picking. Like, he's that one. I want that one for Drew. And I think
the one with the wings.
Yeah. I was like, and I think with Jaime, like, age gaps are so hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they're like, I'm like, I don't care. I want them together. But then other times I'm like, it's just really gross and I'm not into it. So I think for now, I didn't read any romantic like intentions there, just because I think would be wrong.
Yeah, see, it's clear that Drew like has some little crush on Jaime. Like I think that she makes that clear in Lord of Shadows.
Yeah.
It's not as clear from Jaime's perspective, I think. And I really like their friendship. Like I thought they had a cute dynamic going that was very different, because you don't normally see older characters interacting with younger characters like that when they aren't related. The only thing I can really compare it to, I feel, is like Emma and Clary. Like, I feel like they sort of have that dynamic going on, but I feel like there could be something romantic in the future, and I'm like kind of interested, but I'm also kind of weirded out by the fact that like it's like waiting until she's like older when she was like
but also that's the whole thing that he doesn't know that she's 13, and
that too, he doesn't know her age. So like I can't blame Jaime at all. I just like feel weird about it when they're older, but like I mean, you know, it's Cassie, so if she's bright side, I'm sure we're gonna fall in love with it.
I don't know if you guys are willing to talk about Zara.
Oh my god,
I feel like we've talked about
let's do this.
Let's listen.
I mean,
Rose is asking for a slap.
I hate her.
She's past that.
Like, I think the whole book she annoyed me, but then when she came for Alec and Magnus, I was like, woof.
Alec put her in her place. He just put her in her place.
Yes.
The whole thing with the garbage fire. Yes.
Yeah, Zara is like just like so bad. Like we have villains and stuff, but like I like the villains more than I like Zara.
Yeah.
She's like an Umbridge character. That's how I view her. She's not Voldemort. She's Umbridge.
Yeah.
And I hate. She's just like, she lies to get credit, and she is so incredibly racist and terrible and rude and entitled, and like there's just like no good quality about her. Yeah. And I hate her so much. I'm like,
agreed.
Literally, there's nothing redeeming about her at all. Nothing.
No. I feel like it's been so long for us to find a character from Cassie Clare that like has no redeeming qualities. Because even like the villains, like you're like, okay, like they're interesting at least, you know, they're well written villains. But Zara is just like mean and annoying and the worst.
Okay, but can she die now?
Yeah.
She's the worst.
Hopefully. I mean, she's a genuinely bad person.
Yeah.
Villains have a backstory and they have reasons why they are doing what they're doing. She just does what she does simply to get credit for everything, simply to seem that perfect girl, and she's so freaking annoying all the time. Right from the beginning, she appears up till now. I mean, I'm halfway through Queen of Very Darkness, and she's freaking annoying even now.
Oh, no.
I mean, there are different types of ambition. Like the whole Slytherin thing, where there are good Slytherins, and then there are like dark Slytherins who just don't care about everyone else, and they just want to be like on top of everything. And I feel like she's just the embodiment of like an evil Slytherin.
Yeah.
Zara would not get into Hogwarts.
Oh,
She
yeah.
would not be allowed in. Like, at most, she's a squib. Like,
Oh my god,
You
yeah.
think so?
I second that.
I'd say she's a Death Eater.
Personally, that's right. She really is.
yeah. God,
She's
I
like,
think, the way that Cassie's setting up, like, was it Kit who said? I think it was Kit who was like, has nobody cracked open the history book with what they're doing with like the identification? I was like, I feel like Kit brings so much. I'm going back to talking about how much I love Kit, but what's
we
new?
can talk about it.
Just him sort of having this understanding based on like mortal history and like seeing the patterns of like this has been done before so many times when you like take a marginalized group and just sort of see them as other or like inferior to you. And I mean, I haven't read Queen of Air and Darkness. I imagine it gets worse. And I wonder if they'll continue that all the way into the Wicked Powers, because I know that Cassie said like that book, like the entire Shadowhunter world was going to change. Okay.
The whole point of like the cold peace and stuff, it's so allegorical of World War II, and that's what I love about it. Is it takes this piece of our history, it does a really great job of converting it to this fantasy world, but still retaining the parts of humanity that caused everything that happened in our own history, and having it be present in the Shadowhunters. So like as much as I like hate Zara and the cohort and everything, I'm like, it's a really good story.
Yeah. And speaking of history, and seeing the cohort in full action towards the end of Lord of Shadows, it's like seeing again the circle, and it brings so many memories back. I don't know. It feels like they're trying to make everyone feel inferior without their consent, because they are like the elite of the Shadowhunters and everything. So yeah, I feel like it. Cassandra Clare took things from her previous series and improved them into creating a whole world right now. So yeah,
I totally agree with that. That's actually something I say in my my Queen of Air and Darkness review. I love how Cassie, she'll take storylines and tropes that she's used in previous books, and she will rewrite them to hold like a different meaning or follow a different path in the newer books. So like I know a lot of people are like, Cassie Clare books are so repetitive, sure, it's the same story over again. And I'm like, well, if you actually analyze it with a critical eye, you'll realize it's different. I get really salty. I'll defend anything Cassie does. Like, let's be real. I love her so much. But like when people say that, I'm like, no, but like they're literally different. Like you're not seeing the difference, or like how people say that Emma and Jace are the same. Like, yeah, they have similar qualities, but they're very different characters, and they react to things in a different way.
I don't think they're the same at all. Who says that?
Many people do actually. Yeah,
a lot of people think that Emma and Jace. People say the same thing about Will and Jace too, and like, yes, they're similar. First of all, they're related. That's the point. But second of all, they still are so different. And like, if you put them in you like switched their positions, like the whole story would be different because of the way that they would react differently to different situations.
Right.
They're the best. I love them. How do you guys feel about this Warlock sickness? I feel like we haven't talked about that, and that's like a big thing that's to the end.
I'm concerned. Magnus is one of my favorite characters, and I swear to God, Cassie, if you do something to Magnus, I will never get over it.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And then there was Clary's dream on top of it, and I was like, I don't appreciate this. Like, like to have her like.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, just to like, there was like all this like worry. I know leading up to Queer in Darkness, and I don't know if those worries are valid yet because I haven't read it. But like that someone from TMI was gonna die in these books. I'm like, listen, they've been through so much. Just leave them alone. Like,
isn't Clary having the same dream that Magnus said he started having as well?
Yeah, it's connected.
It's the same, right?
Yeah.
I think that Clary's is more specific to her dying, but it's also like a city running with blood and bones all over. Like, it's the same. It's the same vision that Magnus had back in like City of Ashes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we planned that a really long time ago.
Yeah.
And then Clary's is focused on her dying, and she believes that they're real because, like, she thinks that they're being sent to her by the angel or something, that she's going to die.
And we know that that's not being done out of coincidence. So
yeah. I mean, even though I finished Queen of Darkness, I'm gonna speak from my perspective after finishing Lord of Shadows. Is that I never believe that I don't believe that Clary would die in Queen of Darkness, but my theory ending Lord of Shadows was that either she would come really close to death and that like we think that she was gonna die and then she'd be fine, or this is a seed being planted for the wicked powers. I just thought my opinion is that like it would be a lot to kill off a main character from a different series. You know what I mean? But we'll see. And then again, like things aren't even at the end of Queen of Darkness. We still got 3 books to go. So even if she doesn't die in Queen of Darkness, she could die in the Wicked Powers. Like no one's safe.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. And how do you guys, while we're on the topic of Clary's dreams, how do you guys feel about that being the reason that Clary didn't accept Jace's proposal and said no?
I actually haven't read that.
Oh, go for it.
Oh no, I actually haven't read the short story. So I don't really have too much context, but like I just remember not caring, which is
Are you not a fan of Jace and Clary?
No, I love them, but I feel like I
don't care about
they're done. Like
I hear you.
Yeah. I felt sort of similar too. I was like, well, I'm not going to freak out about this. I know other people probably were freaking out about it, but I'm like, there's a valid reason. We know it's not because they're going to break up. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
exactly.
I didn't expect Jace to propose in the first place, so that came as a surprise.
Hey, going back to Midnight,
I also feel like he did an inferior proposal.
Yes! I so agree. Oh my god, I'm like in like a broom closet at someone else's.
Right. Yeah. Hi, Jace. You're the greatest shadow hunter of all time, and you can't put even a little bit of effort. You can't even get flowers. What the heck?
Oh, I'm so glad someone else felt that way. I hated the proposal too.
Well, I kind of expected that, to be honest, because I'm not a huge fan of Jace. Sorry. I expected that to happen, but I didn't expect him to propose in the first place. And I feel like Clary had a very valid reason to reject him the way she did. So yeah, I think that, they're endgame anyway. So if they're married or not, it doesn't change anything.
Also, I just feel like Jace was getting like tired of being the only person in his friend group that wasn't engaged. So,
True. Yeah, FOMO.
I bet he saw Isabel and Simon getting married.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
like I want that too.
He didn't even wait for their engagement party to get over. He was just like, no.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, I wouldn't. That's disrespectful.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I remember when Clary first had this dread of saying no. And I think that Cassie accidentally revealed that she actually says no before Lord of Shadows got released, because at the end of the book she's just she dreaded giving him an answer. And then in Lord of Shadows is when she officially says, I told him no. I was so hyped. I was like, oh my God, Cassie's writing a story where it's the girl doesn't have to say yes. And it's they're so young and independent. And I love this message she's sending to young women. And then I'm like, oh, so she said no because they're not communicating. I wonder when I've seen this before. I'm like, are you kidding me? they're not going to talk about it again. Like she's keeping secrets from him, and I hate the way Cassie Clare characters don't speak to each other, and they're just always lying and deceiving each other to protect the other person.
I know.
Always.
I feel like in fantasy books, like in communication is even more important because like you guys could die if you don't tell each other what's going on. And in contemporary books, I can let it go because I'm like, yeah, I get it, low stakes, but like
seriously, there's so many low stakes in a contemporary. But
like I'm just like, you guys could be dead the next day. Just love each other.
Yeah. And speaking of that, like, what do we all think about the parabatai curse and how Julian found out a way to end it?
I love it. I think it's so. I love the route. This is the parabatai curse is taken, because I think that like when it was introduced, a lot of us like didn't really understand. Like, okay, like why can't parabatai fall in love? Like, what is this? And even at the end of Lord of Shadows, we still like don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, all we know is like they can't fall in love. There's some curse that affects them like metaphysically. And apparently if it gets too far, they will turn into monsters and kill everyone and then kill themselves. And we now know that the way to end it is by breaking all bonds. And so it's like, how does I feel like we still like at Lord of Shadows, like we still don't even know why they can't fall in love. And so I think that was the route this curse has taken. It's been really interesting to me.
When Julian like said like, oh, let's just threaten that we'll break all the bonds, I was like, that's not like even just like like even just mentioning it, I was like, that's not no, like that's can't be possible. And I think also like I just think it's so interesting that even after all these years of being writing the Shadowhunter world, that Cassie is still coming up with new interesting things. Like it also brought me back to like all the way in the beginning when Alex sort of had a crush on Jace. And I was like, why didn't anybody mention it then? Because like there's the added element of like, hey, you guys could like go crazy or die or break all bonds if you like him.
Okay, but it wasn't like Jace didn't like him, so I don't think
that's true.
I think
that's why it wasn't.
It has to be mutual, I think, for them to end up getting crazy and all.
Yeah, I think that it's been a really interesting threat because it comes from the depths of Shadowhunter history. This isn't like a new villain or a new group that's threatening the Shadowhunters. It's literally their own tradition and their own history that has created this huge antagonist that literally no reader it's like none of us really understand the full scope of it until we find out how things will end. And I find that really interesting. You know, it's really cool. Oh yeah, also someone said Alec didn't actually have feelings for Jace, he just thought he did. Yeah, I think that was also part of it, is that like the way that Jace confronts Alec about it, he's like, you didn't really like me, you liked the thought of not having to open up to someone. So yeah, but then also we have Michael Wayland and Robert Lightwood when Michael is in love with him too. And again, this is like really like the first opportunity that we have to explore like what happens when the curse is really there.
I felt a little pang in my heart because when Magnus was telling Julian, go to Robert, I knew why he was telling him to do that because I'm like, oh, because Robert's going to understand like the importance of this.
Oh my God, I didn't pick that up when I like started reading it. Like I didn't realize that until like I started discussing it with other people. When I first read it, I was like, he's telling them to go to the Inquisitor? Like, are you kidding me? I was shooketh in the moment. I was like, what is Magnus doing? And then I got it.
I love him. He's such a wise warlock.
I know. He's like the only character that's always been there. Like I don't remember a time when Magnus Bane wasn't there. He's like
I know.
I just love him so much.
I know, me too. And when he came to save the day when Kit, Livvy, and Ty were at the London Shadow Market, I was listening to the audiobook at that time, and they started describing someone like blue lightning. They said blue lightning, and I'm like, oh, Magnus.
Yeah, I think that's also why the Warlock sickness is like so jarring, is because Magnus is like this invincible character who like all like yes, he tires out, but he's just like always like there. He's always helping there. He always has the fix. He's always guiding characters, and suddenly he's sick. and like he can't play that role anymore. And it's just like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. Magnus is such a great character, and I think the choice to make the Warlocks get sick and to remove this character from like their resources because he's ill is really interesting. Someone says, why is the curse not common? Shadow Winter knowledge is such an important thing to not tell. Like, I was like, yeah.
Maybe it's like, if we don't tell them, it'll never happen.
Yeah, that's
That makes no sense, though.
Do the Shadowhunter rules ever make sense? That's the question.
Yeah, I think it's more the Clave doesn't want to admit that like their traditions are flawed. It kind of reminds me of how like America doesn't like to recognize how racist its history is. It's like this thing doesn't work, so let's just ignore it and not have to address the fact that like, hey, this isn't perfect. Because they view the parabatai as like this holy bond that is so powerful, and they don't want to acknowledge its weaknesses. Right. And then also solicit, it's Hannah saying they don't want people to know about the curse so people don't abuse the magic power that comes from it.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's true.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like everything we've seen from Emma and Julian so far isn't like power that anyone like would want. You know what I mean? Like, I guess, maybe it's like when the curse like, is full blown, and then maybe there's like power they can harness. But I feel like everything that's been going on, like with Emma in Lady Midnight, when Emma is like almost drowning, and then Julian starts drowning, I'm like, who would want that? Who would pursue that?
Yeah. And like when they feel each other like in pain and like dying, I'm like, I don't want
like
to do that.
Strong.
And it just makes everything heightened. So like when you're in love, you're even more in love than just like regular people. And
it's like very reminiscent of the bond between Sebastian and Jace, how like you kill one and they kill the other. That's what it sort of teeters into. Again, similar storyline, but taking a different perspective. I think we can take a couple more questions before we head out, since we started a little bit later. So if you have any last minute questions, or if any of my co-hosts have anything they want to mention, go for it.
I feel like we need to talk about the fact that the mortal sword is no longer.
Oh my god!
Emma's just kicking ass. Like, she's killing riders, she's breaking swords. I'm just like,
I know.
It's really like the mortal sword. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like, I feel like for a long time when I was reading the Mortal Instruments series, I'm like, they really like just let that cup out of their hands. You know what I mean? Like it never seemed like a big deal for having one of the Mortal Instruments missing in the first 3 Mortal Instruments books. But then with the mortal sword like shattered, like not only is that really crucial because like that's one of their methods of trial, and like we have all of this stuff going on with the cohort where like that would be really important, but also just like the symbolism of it with Emma, this 17-year-old girl breaking the parabatai. What am I saying? Breaking the mortal sword.
Well, spoiler alert, everyone.
No, that's no spoiler. No, that doesn't happen.
It makes me wonder, like, what's gonna happen? Like, are they gonna want to take Cortana from her now? Like, is it the sword? Is it the sword that has the power? Is it Emma, or is it both of them together?
Because I feel like that sword is the last thing she has, like, from her family, and if they take that away, that's just so sad.
It's really sad. And it's also like why did this happen? You know what I mean? Like what is it that is so powerful either about Emma or about Cortana that shattered the mortal sword? You know, like not only it killed a writer earlier in the book, this ancient warrior that's like supposedly invincible, and then it shatters the mortal sword. It's like like what is it? What is that sword thinking?
I get so irritated with the clave because I like the law is hard, but it is the law. Like, shut up. And so when the mortal sword got abolished, I'm like, oh, what you gonna do now? You're gonna have to change your ways.
I also feel that we didn't speak at all about the Unseelie King, and I feel like there's so much more going on that we haven't seen in The Lord of Shadows. I mean, we get to see that he's an ass, but there are reasons why he's doing all those things, and the reason why he manipulates people. And I still feel that he has teamed up with more than one characters more than one
Mm.
villains. I'm not sure yet, but I feel like everything he did and the way he treated Kieran, oh my God. I mean, nobody does that. I was like, why?
Yeah.
I've never seen
Yeah.
a dad so excited to kill his son. Like usually,
I know.
Yeah, I feel like YA is moving into this realm where fairies are becoming so much darker.
I love
like,
it.
And yeah, exactly. Like with I know bringing up Holly Black, like in her, I know everybody's talking about the Crow Prince. Like I feel like that was like the first step, and now everybody's like, yeah, let's just go full on evil and like no morals, hedonistic. Let's do it all. And I actually kind of like that, and I think it explains a lot about Kieran and like his loyalties or lack thereof. Towards
also
people.
the whole thing where he doesn't remember what he did.
Oh yeah, we forgot about. We didn't talk about that.
Oh my God.
Oh, it took me a
Yeah.
second what you guys were talking about. Wow. Yeah, that's wild. And how they like, oh, okay. So basically I like hated Kieran when I read him for the first time. Sorry to all the Kieran fans. And then in Lord of Shadows I started to feel for him a little bit more. You know, because we get more development on him. He's also forming this relationship or like sort of relationship thing, like with Christina, like they have a thing going on. And then like he doesn't remember anything that happened, and I like really felt for him because the way that like they're all sort of like not telling him that he did all of this bad stuff because they want him to testify for the clave, and I thought that was really wrong of them to like not be honest with him. You know, and like they don't tell him because they're afraid that like if they know that Mark broke up with him then he wouldn't help them, and it's like stop using downworlders for your own gain. Like, aren't you supposed to be?
Yeah.
So that definitely made me sympathize with Kieran a little bit more because although like I don't agree with what he did in Lady Midnight and stuff, I don't think he deserved that treatment from people that he trusted. You know?
Yeah.
And wasn't part of that Julian's idea too?
Yeah.
All these ideas tend to be Julian's ideas.
Julian makes
I know. He creeps me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
No, the minute Emma was like, "Julian, you scare me a little," I feel like this is gonna be a recurring thing.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's interesting.
I think it's always hard because I feel like Emma and Julian sometimes fall into that trope of like she's his conscience outside of his body, and if she's not there, he just goes like just does all this really bad shit, and that sometimes just doesn't sit well with me. I've had other ships go down that path, and it can get really bad very quickly. If like
I feel like even if she is there, he's gonna go down that bad path.
That is true.
Especially like I was so worried about that after Livvy died. I was just like, now he's like gonna let go of his conscience, just like kill everyone. And I was just so worried about that. Like after I finished Lord of Shadows.
Yeah. Oh, but like when he was holding Livvy while she was dying, that broke my heart. Broke my heart.
The way no, but like James Marsters, the audiobook, the way he did it. Oh
my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Wasn't he an actor? I feel like.
Yeah,
so that's what
he was Spike. He was Spike in Buffy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did a great job with the audiobook.
So good.
Yeah. I think we can maybe take one more question, or if you guys have
I remember someone said something that would be fun. Like they wanted us to sort all the characters into Hogwarts houses.
Oh, this is a fun thing to end on. Love it. Julian's a Slytherin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Totally.
Easy.
Emma's obviously a Gryffindor.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
I think
What about
Drew, we don't know enough about her, but I would say Hufflepuff maybe.
I'm thinking,
or I could see Ravenclaw as well.
I was thinking Ravenclaw.
I was thinking
Ravenclaw.
How observant and you know, I think that Drew definitely is a Ravenclaw. She carries herself in this way that makes her seem like wise beyond her years.
Oh yeah, she said something. Yeah, she was like, "Is this girl 13? Really?"
Yeah. People are also saying that Ty's a Ravenclaw, but I also feel like Ty's a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of? We didn't say Emma. We just like skipped
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor.
Yeah.
What about Mark?
He's hard.
Interesting.
I feel like Mark's a little Hufflepuff too.
I feel like that's possible. I feel like he's a Hufflepuff Gryffindor mix.
Huffledore, whatever.
I feel like Livvy is a little bit of both Gryffindor and Hufflepuff too, for some kind of reason. I mean, she's she has all those qualities Gryffindors have. She's so energetic and she's very brave and stuff, but she's also super kind at times. And
Yeah.
Yeah. What about
I feel like Christina might be a Hufflepuff too.
Yeah, Christina, I think she's a Hufflepuff.
Yeah,
And
when she took care of the
this
kids.
is the first time we're talking about her, actually.
She's like my favorite. I feel like she's just
Christina's
like
wonderful.
She's just everything good in this world, like in one person.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, I love her. I love her.
I feel like we can't sort Tabby just because he's so small and has.
he's kind of young.
Like,
I feel like we're gonna get Tabby's personality more in the Wicked Power. Sorry if I'm at this weird angle. I'm trying to plug in my computer for the last few minutes.
What do you guys think? Where do you guys think Diana is?
Oh,
which house?
She's so
Ravenclaw. I think Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Ravenclaw too.
Yeah, and
She
Kieran
could also be Gryffindor, though.
I think Kieran's hard because he's gone through such an evolution. Like, I feel like he's like switched houses.
I feel like
at first I'd say Slytherin, but now I feel like his
maybe a Ravenclaw.
Maybe. Yeah.
I actually have no idea.
What's Annabelle?
I could also see him as like more of an arrogant Gryffindor.
True, that too. Yeah, I just feel like Kieran definitely isn't a Hufflepuff as we see him in.
No. Not at all.
I feel like he's also not a. I feel like he's also not a Slytherin because I feel like he kind of just wants to chill. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he doesn't want.
Yeah, he's not very
like
ambitious.
I feel like he's not super ambitious.
Literally all he wants the entire book is just Mark.
Yeah, he just wants to be with Mark. And now maybe Christina, based on Heather. Is there anyone we're missing from like the main cast of characters? Helen. What about Helen? Helen comes home. We forgot to mention this.
Yeah. 2 seconds.
It happens at the very end. So excited.
I feel like I don't know enough about Helen.
I don't remember anything about her.
She showed up with her girlfriend, or was it wife?
Eileen.
And 2 seconds, and I was like, I want more. Like, don't just take them away so quickly.
You get more in Queen of Fair and Darkness.
Ooh, okay.
Let me see. And Kit. What do we think Kit is?
Oh yeah,
Gryffindor.
100%. Yeah.
I'm down.
I can see that. Yeah.
What do you guys think Annabelle is?
Annabelle.
Oh God, I felt so bad for her actually. Like this whole book.
I did too, but I also kept picturing her as the girl from The Ring, and she creeped me out.
I know, right?
Yeah. I was thinking more like Corpse Bride. Like,
oh God. Either way, it's creepy.
Yeah.
I feel like she might be a little Slytherin-y. I don't know.
I mean, like for the obvious reason.
Undead Annabelle is a Slytherin.
Yeah. I feel like she could be something different when she was alive. But I feel like based off of like living but not really living for like 5 years.
When she was able to just toss the writer, like she just lifted up her arm and just tossed him into a wall. I felt that.
But even when she just killed Malcolm, I was just like, wait.
Oh my God, I was not expecting that.
So shocking. Crazy. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, thank you so much to everyone who joined us for the discussion. All of your Michael's just
hi Michael.
Michael can finally come out because he hasn't read Lord of Shadows.
Shame.
But yes, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you to my lovely co-host. You are like really derailing this live show right now. So yes, of course, don't forget to check everyone's social media links and such in the description to follow them for helping me host such an amazing discussion. But we still have one more live show for Queen of Our Darkness coming, which I'm super, super excited for, so stay tuned for that. Finally, we can just gush about everything. But I will see you guys soon.
What is he doing back there?
They want to know what you're doing. They want to know what you're doing back there. He's just playing around.
Thank you so much.
All right.
So much
Thank you guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye, guys.